Hey, K-drama fans, we are back with another Astro Corner with one of our favorite couples, Flower of Evil. Joon-gi, Moon Chae-won. I mean, we've loved them since the show, after the show, talking about the show. And we just did a clubhouse and talked about the astrology of these two in this show. So we were like, we can't leave you guys out. So we're back to talk about their astrology.
That's right. Even though it's been a few months, their relationship just it's like the hallmark of like loyalty and faith in each other and standing by each other in the face of just tragedy and serial killers and murder and escapes. It's just
So good. So we were like, I think we're coming. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think we're coming up on the year anniversary of when the show first aired, or something like that. So
yeah.
we'll use that as our excuse, not just because we just love it so much.
That's right.
There's always a plan, you guys. Always a plan.
Yeah. So if you're new to our channel, be sure to like this video. That really helps us out a lot. And we have lots of astrology videos, lots of synastry videos for you to enjoy. But today we are talking about Flower of Evil.
Yes. So as we always do, Marisa, let's just talk about them as individuals real quick. So we first off have Lee Joon-gi. He is a Aries sun. He is an Aquarius moon. He has a Taurus Mercury. Then he's got a Pisces Venus, and he has a Libra Mars. So what I find really interesting about this is that he kind of runs the gamut of all the elements, right? So he's got a little bit of everything in there. And so if we just kind of start and let's just look at the archetypes. So your sun is your life force, right? And he is an Aries life force. And that just is like the warrior, the hero, the protector, like all of that. It's all about conquering fear. And it's how that energy comes off, right? But interestingly, if you look at the rest of his stuff, that's the only Aries he has. It's the only real fire he has, but that's his life force. That's what he's drawn to. That's what's going to keep him sane, is always fighting the good fight, trying to, conquer the world, right? And then you move to his moon, which is his emotional core, and the archetypes for that is, again, we go back to what we always say: the rebel, the genius, the outside the norm, or whatever your society that you live in, what the norm is. So never kind of on that beaten path, always going outside, and that's where he feels emotionally comfortable. You look at his communication planet, and it's over in Taurus, so everything then just slows way down, right? Because it's about stability, it's about self-worth, it's about keeping a nice home and being safe, and that's how he communicates. So he's not going to communicate to you in one of those aggressive ways. It's going to be a much softer, gentler, safer space, right? He's going to want to talk about the trees and the plants and the animals. And, I think someone asked us in the clubhouse what made him an animal lover. And if a lot of things can make you an animal lover, but definitely the Taurus Mercury, he likes to talk to animals. So him having a bunch of puppies is not surprising at all. And then his Venus is over here in Pisces. So the archetype for that, we've said it a couple of times, the dreamer, the mystic. So for him, relationships are all about the magical other, right? The magical cosmos, like how we can connect on a spiritual level with his relationships. And then his Mars is over here in Libra, and it's his action planet. And his action planet is in Libra, so it's about balance. So even though Mars isn't super comfortable with balance, what he's fighting for is to find that balance. And so I find it really interesting that he kind of runs that gamut, which I feel like we saw every color of that rainbow in this character of Do Hyun-soo. And that's what I think made it such a magical performance.
Yes, and I also think it explains why he's such a superstar actor who has worked in, like, he's one of the few Korean actors who's worked in Hollywood. It totally makes sense, because especially for this character, because he was like 8 different characters,
He
right?
really was, right? You had the hidden part, you had the boy part, you had the after he had amnesia part, and they all played into this amazing character that he created. That at no point did you think they were disjointed. And that's what I thought was so amazing about it, right? So now let's take a look at Moon Chae-won. Now, when we look at her chart, she is a Scorpio Sun, Mercury, and Venus. And then she's got an Aries moon and an Aquarian Mars. She doesn't have quite the energy spectrum that Lee Joon-gi has, but she's got all that Scorpio in her chart, which gives, and they're all conjunct. So you basically can't separate her life force from the way she communicates, from the way she relates to people. They're all kind of entwined. So the second you hit one, you hit all three. And that, all of that archetype is being secretive. It's like a detective or a psychoanalyst, and like all of those things about digging deep and, you know, kind of being a little secretive about your own, holding your own cards close to the vest, but wanting to dig in on the person next to you. And so I find that to be like pretty much what, you know, Cha Ji-won's character was, right? Like that is just, that's kind of the whole, that's her whole story, right? But then you pepper in there that she's got that Aries moon. So that's where that fierceness came in about how devoted she was to her family once we hit that halfway point pivot, when she was, when they all kind of, all the cards were laid on the table. And then you look at her Mars over here in Aquarius, and that, again, the same, you know, we got the same archetype. So this time it's only in your action planet. So the rebel, the genius. So the way she wants to take action is going to be outside the box. It's not going to be the normal way that people are going to, you know, are going to expect. And, but it's still an aggressive one. It's still kind of, you know, it's got that excessive, you know, idea behind it. So it can be very regimented. So Mars plays well in that, which means you can get a little bit almost puritanical with your out of the box ideas. But again, I think that played in really well with her character.
That's right, because she's a cop who definitely goes outside the box,
Yeah.
does not do what she's supposed to do in order to protect her
Right.
husband. But what I found really interesting was that the deeper you got into the series, you know, you see this loving, you know, couple, devoted couple with a really hot relationship
Yeah.
right at the beginning. And then later you see that he was very different when they first met. And yet there was something in him that drew her and that she stuck by him as he kind of blossomed and became an adult, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's really interesting that she would fall for that kind of guy.
Right. Now, it's, you know, again, these are characters. They were written, of
Right.
course, but I think the reason that they were so believable is because they both played into what their archetypes were. And kind of going back to what you said about how there just was something that drew them to each other. Well, I mean, just as human beings, Lee Joon-gi and Moon Chae-won have those kind of markers that they're going to be friends. This is like their second project they've worked on together. So they did Criminal Minds together, and then they wanted to work on something else together. And she brought Flower of Evil to Lee Joon-gi.
Now we haven't seen Criminal Minds. Has anyone? Was it? Is that one of
Right.
those that wasn't really available, or?
I haven't seen it on any of our video on demand. I would love to see it. So yeah, so they've worked together before. So clearly, Moon Chae-won's not bringing Flower of Evil to Lee Joon-gi if they
Unless,
unless there's some sort of like, oh, I enjoyed working with you. There's some sort of bond there, right?
Exactly,
And again, you guys, as we say all the time, this is just for fun. This is just about their compatibility to work together in some great scripts. We don't have a birth time, so we can only get a very, very rough sketch of like archetypal stuff. There's a lot that we can't even dive into because we don't have a birth time, and that kind of sets the tone of how all that energy is used. Disclaimer. Moving on. But some of these markers are, which I think play out when they are acting together, is one of the quintessential markers for a married couple. And again, not dating in real life. I'm talking strictly about the characters. But his sun is in Aries and her moon is in Aries. So you have that life force and emotional core right there. So right out of the gate, these two are going to get along, right? And so if you can play into that as a couple, the fact that their sun to moon on her sun to his moon are in a square. It's a Scorpio sun to his Aquarian moon. So there's going to be some friction there, right? So they're going to be drawn to each other and then be like, boom, boom, boom. So in real life, probably a little more challenging, but on the page and then on screen, that is just, you know, storytelling gold right there, right? Because you can even tell in the back and the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, Lee Joon-gi is always like on and having fun and, you know, popping and, you know, singing and
performing,
you know, and she's a much quieter person. She has more of that Scorpio energy. So I'm not. They probably get along very well, but she's probably at the end of the day being like, I need some quiet. I'm gonna go. We'll go. We'll go. But thank you. I love you. Godspeed. Because because if you keep looking, you keep going through this, you then look at the fact that he has this Aquarian moon, and he's just got all that Scorpio. So not only, like we said before, so that Aquarian moon doesn't just square her sun, it squares her Mercury, her Venus, and her Pluto if we go deeper into some of the slower moving planets. So squaring all those planets, there's just a lot of friction. There's a lot of room for a lot of growth and stuff. But we're talking just about a scripted on camera. That is some hot, passionate, friction that you can play into and play with. And obviously his emotional core to her, the way she relates to people, is going to be like, that is like romance, 18 million degrees Fahrenheit right there, which is what we got.
Well, that's the thing, because you have to believe that they have a solid marriage, and you have to believe that because she's a cop, she's going to confront him, and you have to believe that things resolve the way they do.
Yeah. And so, I mean, just those two things by themselves, I think really took this one, that gives it that magic that we always talk about. Like, what's that astrology magic that happened? Like, those two things alone took that to the next level. And then as you just kind of move through it, like his Venus is in Pisces. So again, that water and that need to connect and that need to have a spiritual, bond with somebody is going to match up with all of that Scorpio. So lovely. So when you get that breakdown scene in the rain and he falls apart and actually does love her, like, oh God, it's just so beautiful because he's got letting it go. And she's like, oh, this is beautiful, right?
Oh my God.
So you get those beautiful emotional moments because they have all that emotional capability. Then you take it a step further and you even go back it out farther. Some of these bigger planets, his Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the planet of expansion, so it kind of it's considered a benefic, which means it's a big planet. It's a good, happy planet, but it expands whatever it touches. Sometimes the excess can be too much, and we can fall into some darker things. But for a script and a show, that it amplifies everything. His Jupiter is in Scorpio, so all of his expanding energy is just hitting all of those points: her sun, her Mercury, her Venus, and her Jupiter, so that where she needs to find expansion and joy is in Pisces, which hits his Venus. So again, you have that like emotional, just expansive like energy thing that's happening, which is just beautiful, right?
Yeah, because I mean, it'd be hard to imagine this with any other actors. I mean, it's always kind of the case, right? And for when two actors do such a great job and are so connected to each other, but it's that magic we talk about because they do play. They're not partners. They're a married couple. It's that kind of partnership. So there's this whole other level that you have to believe, and if they don't have that sparky magical connection, then the whole story falls apart.
Right. And we believe them, like you said before, through every incarnation. And that to me tells me that they leaned into all these pieces. Not only do they know each other well as actual people, Lee Joon-gi and Moon Jae-won, and they leaned into that, they bring that to that script, and those scripts and those characters match so well to who they are as humans.
And which is why Flower of Evil is like top, I don't know what, top 3 for us, like of all time. It's easily so up there. Yeah.
Easily. I mean, I think we've had this conversation a million times, but even that final episode was like a short film unto itself.
Yeah.
And it was, I think we had this conversation, and I love that we're actually talking about astrology now, because they were the story changed 180 degrees for that final episode. But you still were on the same journey with those two characters, and you believed every minute of it. And that's what I loved about them as actors and performers, and the script, and how well it played into who these two people are.
Yeah, because he went through a lot of emotional torture in that final episode, and so did she. But she also was holding her ground, so it makes so much sense when you look at them through astrology and through synastry, because it's like this explains it all.
Yes. And I love it. And I just think it's so much fun to kind of see where some of that magic can pop through, especially
Yeah.
in like house scripts. Again, we've said it before. We said it in Mr. Queen, we said it in Crash Landing on You. There's just an element of magic that when those couples just light up the screen, like what is that? And it always makes me so happy. As we're closing out, there's like two more that I just want to bring up because they make me so happy. Final episode we just talked about, like his moon and her Mars are conjunct. So again, you have that emotional core in the way she takes action. And so her kind of giving him the space to discover on his own, like that's just so perfect. And I loved it. And then if you look at her North Node is over in Aries, which means that what she's working towards in this life is conjunct to his sun. And so again, I thought that mirrors so well with the script that final episode script gave us.
So I think this means that they're possibly going to work together again
Yes.
because
God, I hope so. They
they're
actually
kind
did
of
talk
great
about it.
acting partners. Oh
They're
yeah,
such great acting partners. They did
yeah,
say it in a couple of their behind the scenes. Now, whether that was just them being like, it'd be so much fun to work together again, that kind of a thing, or if
yeah.
it's real. But yeah, they were saying they want to do something a little lighter though, but that would be,
Oh, that would be so great.
yeah,
Oh my god, yeah.
totally dig it. Oh my God, you
Okay.
guys, we love doing these so much. Thank you so much for kind of hanging out with us and letting us talk astrology. Let us know if you have any questions or, thoughts about who else you guys want to see. But until then, we are the K3. I'm Jen.
I'm Marisa, and you are part of our K-drama clubhouse. Be sure to like this video. It really makes a big difference to
Mhm.
YouTube. We don't really understand the YouTube algorithm. Nobody does. But apparently hitting that like button is like the most A+ thing you can do for us. So please go ahead
And
and
we
do that.
appreciate it.
We do. And be sure to join us every Sunday. We go live for our K-drama clubhouse where you can bring your thoughts and we all talk, and it's the
So
best.
fun. It is.
Yeah.
And if you enjoyed this astrology video, go ahead and check out all of our other ones right here. We got a playlist and everything. All right. Bye.
Bye.